Now it's time for What's Hot. We talk about stories that have all of us talking.
We're joined by Barb Bartlein from the People Pro, plus Jeff Wagner's back. All right, here's our first topic. The search, as we know, is continuing for missing Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Investigators released images of two men who traveled on that flight with stolen passports, but U.S. officials see no connection to terrorism. The plane somehow went off the radar. It's missing right now. So what are your thoughts on this case, guys?
Yeah, I don't think the terrorism. I think the terrorism link is sort of a red herring. You know, the latest reports are that the plane was 300 plus miles, off course. My guess is some error somewhere along the line. There are reports that they tried to turn around. I think, unfortunately, this is going to come out to one of those aviation accidents.
Well, yeah, more stuff is coming out all the time, and it does look like they were off course and maybe tried to turn around. I'm questioning whether they had some kind of engine trouble or some other kind of problem with the plane. But, yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to have complete answers.
The only thing that really surprises me is, one, yes, today we are learning the plane may have been 300 miles off course. Why now are we hearing this? Because a lot of the search and rescue efforts were miles and miles away, so we were in the wrong place in the first place. And then the other thing is these planes are so sophisticated. I mean, this plane will tell you if it's got any sort of problem, and there's none of that right now that we know of.
Right. And I will say one other thing. Even though I don't think this is a terrorism-related situation, I admit I find it more than a little bit alarming that apparently this idea of people traveling under false passports or stolen passports is relatively commonplace in a number of parts of the world. I understand this in Malaysia and all, but it seems to me that a lot of the security measures that we put in place kind of break down if we're not verifying that the people who are supposed to be on the planes are actually those people. And again, I don't think this is a terrorism, but if they're flying on stolen passports and it's relatively common, what's that all about?
Yeah, I was a little surprised to read that as well, Jeff. And nobody seemed to kind of bat an eye that some of these people had 2 or 3 passports. I didn't know you could even do that.
And when it's that rare, I mean, your mind sort of jumps to that big conspiracy theory with the terrorism. I know that in Malaysia they were talking about the 4 scenarios that Tom Costello was talking a little while ago. Hijacking, we don't know about that, sabotage, and then he talked about psychological problems with either the passenger or the crew, and there's a lot of speculation swirling right now on whether or not maybe it was just a slip-up with the crew.
I mean, apparently something catastrophic. I mean, I think that's the obvious, but the mystery surrounding it, I think, has a lot of people intrigued. And then you go back to the passports.
Right.
I think people then are troubled by that. All right, we're going to leave it at that. Coming up next, we're reviewing. Again, we're joined by Barb Bartlein and Jeff Wagner from 620 WTMJ. Today's viewer choice topic, the state Senate is set to vote on a bill that would extend school days and shorten school years. The bill would help save money. Schools would still have to teach for the same number of hours under this bill. Is this a smart idea?
This is one of the stupidest ideas that's ever floated around the legislature. And
that's saying something. That's saying something.
I'll tell you, Jeff, it flies in the face of all the current research about children in education. Over and over again, studies have shown that children regress during the summer vacation. They oftentimes learning is suspended. They have to play catch up in the fall. They're out of the routine. Many school systems have promoted the idea of year-round school exactly to address that issue. And by the way, the poor children regress even more than some of the children that come from more affluent homes, because the affluent kids are going to camp, or they're going and studying music, or they're doing things. I think this is a terrible idea.
Jeff, where's this coming from? I mean, the Republicans control both houses, so, I mean, it seems surprising that they would be the ones pushing this.
Well, I would agree, and I'm not sure how much support there is at the end of the day for this. This is not how I would go about it. My big obsession is the fact that we have mandatory, school cannot start now until September 1st. That's a relatively new law, and there's a push to change that, to allow local school districts to decide when they want to start and when they want to finish, and they could also then build in more time to accommodate, snow days and things like that. That, to me, is the way to go. This one just doesn't seem to be it. I want to give local school districts more authority to manage their schedules for what makes sense for their particular district. The needs in Milwaukee, for example, might be different than the needs in Onalaska.
Right, and the big controversy always used to be, should they start before Labor Day or after Labor Day?
Right.
I think what they need to do is look at the research on kids, including later starting times, especially for teens. Research shows over and over again they do better if they can go to school a little bit later.
See,
Cody
Barb,
turned out all right. He was only in school, he tells me, in high school for how long?
We started school at 8 o'clock, out by 1:45, but we had a lot of extracurriculars, so we were busy with all that. But you wonder, though, how much schooling a kid can take in a day. So if you extend those hours, how much are they going to retain?
It worked out for Cody. All right, let's move on to the lightning
I'm
round.
here with Charles. Time for our lightning round. The so-called Princeton mom is stirring up debate again. She says it's all on women to find husbands in college. She encouraged women to do whatever it takes to feel socially successful by the time they get to college. She also said women should snag a husband. And I think it's to devote 75% of their effort to finding a man, finding Mr. Right, 25% to their career goals.
I can't wait to hear what Jeff says.
Well, I'm waiting to hear what Barb has to say on this.
See, I got to be real careful here because my wife and I met in law school, and there's no doubt in my mind that she was looking to marry me was the last thing she was looking for when she was in law school. I have no doubt about that, but it happened to have worked out, so I'm a lucky guy.
It just sounds like what this woman is saying is kind of a throwback to the 50s or 60s where your goal in life is to find a husband. I find it kind of insulting.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the time when they said women would go to college to get their MRS degree, you know, and so it seems like a throwback to that. The one thing that did seem to be interesting to me is that, I mean, if you're going to find a pool of people, that's a pretty good pool to try to find a mate, because once you leave that environment, it does seem like it becomes more challenging.
Right, and she argues that, and these are her words, not mine, that women, you're your most beautiful, successful at that point. So it's
well, so maybe men are as well.
Well,
you know.
I
didn't like the idea, though. She said, even as far as cosmetic surgery. I mean, that
in high school, she was saying, get all of the work done before you go to college. I think that's pretty outrageous.
Well, I think that the gender differentiation is stupid, but I mean, I think the reality is, look at a lot of people. I mean, single men, single women. One of the biggest complaints is they say they have trouble meeting folks.
Yeah.
And you do. Where do you do it? You do it maybe through your churches. You do it, in the workplace, or when you're younger, you do it in that college environment. I don't think you go to school necessarily looking for that, but for men or women,
right.
I mean, again, you've got similarly aged people that you can meet, but I wouldn't think.
I think a lot of that's changed, though, Jeff, with the online and the Facebook, and you can find people.
Well, in fact, you can continue.
But are there people you want to find? That's the whole issue. Okay.
In fact, we're going to have to continue this discussion on